The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: real property management focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, we do all the work, you get all the credit. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
Hi, and good morning. Thank you so much for joining Chit Chat with Char, where our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate meaningful relationships with those people in our communities who we love and who we serve. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with or chatting with Miss Charmaine Armstrong. She is a mortgage guru. She is a wealth of knowledge. She is a go-getter. She's a family woman. She's a wife, a mother, blended family. She has a lot going on for her. We like to call her the Beyonce of video marketing. She just does an amazing job. Without further ado, Miss Charmaine, please join us.
Good morning. Thank
Hey,
you.
good morning. Good morning. All right. So I know I did not do your bio justice. You have you pretty much provided me with a beautiful bio. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell us more about yourself and hit those high points for us.
Okay, so probably one of the biggest high points that I'm coming off of just this past week was making the President's Club again. So I've been doing, I think, for like, I don't know, 9 years straight now. And so, and I attribute that just to the community that I serve, supporting me as well as me supporting them. Part of what I do every day is give information and knowledge just about the day-to-day things, because every day it's like there's always something new. So I try to bring my smile to everyone and hopefully get that smile back. But as you mentioned, yes, a blended family, have 7 kids, couple at college right now, 2 new additions to the family, grandchildren this year. So a grandson and a granddaughter. So both my daughters said, "You getting grandbabies." So I'm like, okay, that means that I get to, babysit now and do all these things. I'm like having to, pull back. I'm like, okay, oh yeah, diaper change, bottles,
Yes.
making formula. I'm like, and what's so crazy is probably something that maybe many don't know. I breastfed all my children. So having to, make and mix formula is something new for me. I'm like reading. I'm like, I want to make sure I do this right. So I'm learning on some new baby stuff with the grandbabies.
That's awesome. I know what that baby love feels like. I'm so in love with my grandbaby as well.
That's
So
right.
one of the things that really stuck out to me in your bio is that you mentioned that you were the top female producer in your company. Tell us a little bit about, well, what struck me about that was that you mentioned female. Tell me a little bit about why you had to mention female.
Well, probably the biggest thing is that in this industry, finance, there's a lot of women in it, but when you see the people on top, typically it is men. And so for me to actually be a top producing female in the company, I was just like, wow, this is so awesome. And be, actually really close to where these men are at, and trying to, knock down those doors or walk in doors that typically a woman couldn't walk through because maybe they felt that she wasn't, smart enough, or maybe she couldn't articulate well enough, or she could not make decisions without being emotional. There's all these things that come across with dealing with a woman, but of course, that's just not how all women operate. There's many women bosses, as we know. With the pandemic, we've got to see so many bosses, and then even new bosses. I just talked to a lady yesterday. She goes, "I just started my business 2 months ago." So those are things that we want to definitely show other women that they can be bosses and they can lead in their industry. So that's probably why the biggest thing for me was to say females, that I did it in an industry where you usually just see men
Right.
knocking out the park.
Right, right. Well, I know when I read that, I was like, I wanted to definitely get into that and talk more about that. With it being a male dominated industry. And like you said, you do see a lot of women in the industry, but not at the top. So I'm very proud of you for all of your accomplishments. So you also have 3 offices.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about those locations, the areas, and things of that nature.
Yeah, so of course, like most people, I started off with 1, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I got 2, and I'm like, "Okay, you can do it." When I got 3, I was like, "All right." So, for the first location, the original location, is in Dallas, in the Uptown area, and I've had that office for eons. I'm gonna have to think how many years now. Probably at least, I want to say at least 15, I would think. And
Wow.
then about 5 years ago, I decided to open an office in the Waco area because I felt like that area needed a little Charmaine down there. And then this past year with the pandemic, while of course a lot of people were working from home, I decided to have space in Richardson so I could be a little bit further north and try to be centralized to help everyone that I serve.
Yes, yes, and you have a beautiful office down in Richardson. I haven't had the pleasure of going to any of the other offices, but the office in Richardson is really nice. So how do you do it? How are you getting everywhere and all these different places at one time or at the same time? How are you doing it?
Okay, good question. So Zoom is awesome now. I can be
Yes.
everywhere in one day with no problem. But I just try to, put myself where I need to be accordingly. So if I'm having to drive down to Waco, I'm in the car. It's only an hour and 30 minutes. I got good music. I'm there. It seems like in 30 minutes now, or phone calls, right? But I just really try to manage my time. I am very, very consistent
Hmm.
in my day-to-day responsibilities. My checklist. I'm old school. I write everything down. I know I can type it in my notes. I know I can set reminders on my phone, but I'm definitely a visual person. So I make my notes of what I need to accomplish either the night before or the morning of, and just go attack my day.
Love it. Love it. So one of the things that you did not mention in your bio, you did not mention that you're an author. You have a couple of books out.
Yes, yes, yes. So that was something that I added to the repertoire, I should say, about 3 years ago. And it's really important for me to just touch some of the topics that people do touch on, but I wanted to give people, real information, because a lot of the things that we see out there really maybe per se don't cater to what's really real. Like for example, I got one of them right here, like buying a house and buying this during a divorce. And in the
Mhm.
pandemic, that was something that has happened a lot. A lot of families just really couldn't hold on for one reason or another. But it doesn't mean that you have to go rent. There's many different things that I've seen happen. Probably one of the things that I saw happen this past year, I was like, wow. A gentleman was separated from his wife, buying a house with the girlfriend, and the wife actually signed for him to buy the house with the girlfriend. I was like, go ahead, amicable. I mean, that's like amicable, all caps, like
Wow.
exactly. But again, there's different ways that you can take title.
Mhm.
Tenants in common. Tenants with joint rights of survivorship. So there's different ways to take title, so that way you can be protected, and then
Right.
people just need to know that information.
Right, right. Well, you are definitely an educator. I've been to several of your events where you're educating and providing, just a wealth of knowledge. Your ability to educate, do you have some type of teaching background or is it just a passion?
A passion. I love learning, and I tease and say my beta planning period, where I'm, putting the different chips in to make my day run like it should, is between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning. So
Yeah.
before 4 and 6, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm learning, I'm reading.
Mhm.
And then here, exactly a year ago, a little bit over, like a year and like 4 or 5 days, I started adding going to the gym, because that was really important for me to kind of get that part, you know. And I've been saying health as well, but just to get that clarity so that way I can serve people and give them good information. And so as I learn it is how I like to teach it.
Mhm. And you're an awesome teacher. Um, One of the things when we first met, it's almost like we're namesakes because I get called Charmaine all the time, all
Right.
the time, and it's like it's okay, it's
Yep.
okay.
That's
But
right.
one of the things that I really loved about you when we first met,
Mhm.
we met at an event, and it was
Sure
for
did.
I believe it was Title Tina. It was an event that she had,
Exactly.
and you know, when you meet somebody and you just instantly connect with them, and it's like, wow, she is just
Exactly.
a wealth of knowledge. I think we talked for a couple of hours,
We did.
and
We
we
did.
talked about a whole bunch of stuff in that setting.
Exactly.
And I just knew that, you know what, wherever she is, I want to be around.
Yep.
So
Yes.
you just have a wealth of knowledge. You have people around you that support you and
Right.
that help you to do all the great things that you're doing. I
Yes.
want to talk a little bit about like how you balance. So I
Mm.
know that you said your planning is between 4 and 6.
Right.
You are a mother,
Mm.
you are, you know, a wife, you have 7 children, grandbabies, you
Mhm.
know, 3 offices. How do you balance? What is it? What is the magic potion for balancing your life?
So I would say that my balance is my routine that I created, you
Mm,
know, because it was chaotic with all of that going on. And I would, you know, struggle to be like, okay, well, I want to do this, and how do I not fall here? And there's really, and I'm not crazy where my calendar is like red, pink, yellow. You know,
that would be me.
I couldn't handle all the color. I'm just like, oh no, but it's really my routine is how I balance it all. Have certain things that I do in a particular order, and I make sure that I accomplish the things that are on my routine so I can feel at peace. You know,
Yes.
and that's probably the biggest thing. If I tease and say if my feng shui is off, you know, I'm not operating correct. So I just make sure that I, you know, and I pray every day. My new prayer that I've been saying the past couple of weeks is thank you, God, for allowing me to wake up in my best timeline, because I want to get up and I want to be my best, and I want to give my best to everyone that I come in contact with. So the biggest thing is making sure that I stay on my routine,
Mhm.
and because that is my piece. So could maybe call me a workaholic, just maybe just like that, maybe like
Just a
that.
little bit.
But as long as I stay in my routine, I'm good, and I make sure that I fit everything in that I'm supposed to. Like for example, I was at my son's baseball game on Monday, and you know, or I'm like before I headed out yesterday, I was putting food in the crock pot. So I just kind of try to make sure I get everything in, so therefore nothing is lacking. And then at the end of the day, I can say, okay, I accomplished this, or I made somebody smile, or if there's something that I really need to get to the next day, that I'm doing it. And probably the biggest thing is making sure that I include self in there. So my
Mm,
biggest thing is it for me is when I was at the gym yesterday morning from 5 to 6, and I got a good workout in, and I had so much energy for the day.
right, right. So, so how does your husband help in this balance?
He says my name really loud to get my attention.
That's funny. That's funny. So I love that you say that you know you put things in the crock pot.
Hmm.
I have not mastered that. My poor husband. Oh, it's like it's very hard for me to cook for 2 people.
Yeah,
That's difficult for me. And then it's cooking is not my favorite thing to do
I love
anyway.
cooking. I love cooking.
See, you gotta love it. And maybe if I knew how to cook, how
Uh-huh.
to learn, I would have some passion
Right.
for it. But it just feels like a chore.
Yeah, and it could be like for me, laundry is a chore. Like laundry, I'm just like, oh God, there's plenty of other things I can do besides laundry. But cooking is one of those things to where I love it. I feel good about it. I love seeing my family smile and my friends smile. So cooking is one of those things that if you know me, you know I do it. But when I tell people I can cook, they look at me and be like, she can burn, she can cook. They'd be like, not, and I'd be like, let me show you. So a lot of people like, she can cook.
I want to come right back to that. Hold on one second. I want to come right back to that. We're going to break really quick so that we can honor our sponsors.
Yes, we got to do that.
You are watching Chit Chat with Char, hosted by Charmaine Byers and powered by The Difference, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve. Today's show is made possible by the following small business partners: Power on Utilities, Texas Best Utility Concierge Service, The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance, and by WeatherTech General Contracting, specializing in high-end remodeling, roof repair, and commercial build-outs for more than 10 years. And now back to the show.
All right. Okay, so we were talking about cooking and how you love to see your family and your friends smile when you cook. And where did you learn how to cook? Did your parents teach you or family?
Good question. So my mom was a single mom and was working. And so I just would go in the kitchen and literally experiment. And I say, what about this? And what if I put this here? Because, we didn't really have access to cookbooks. There wasn't no online, And so I just would get in the kitchen and just play and do what felt natural to me. So innately, I feel like I was definitely blessed with the gift of being able to cook. So I would prepare things, and my mom would be like, "Oh, okay," and I started cooking Thanksgiving for my family as a whole, meaning my mom, my brother, my stepdad, my grandmother. I remember making those meals for them, even at 20 years old, and barbecuing, like actually, putting coals and wood and actually barbecuing and having cookouts, because I moved out on my own at a very young age. And so coming over and eating my food and be like, oh, wow, I'm like, all right, y'all enjoying this. So, so it's just something that I've just always done. And then I've even, in my time of cooking, really learned how to cook other cultures' food. Like, so one of the things that people love that I make is egg rolls, because I make them from scratch.
Oh.
And so, yeah. And people think, what restaurant you got these from? I'm like, I made these, So I'm very authentic when I'm cooking. So I wanted to have that real flavor, as though it definitely came from where it came from.
There are so many layers to you. I mean, an awesome businesswoman, an author, wife, mother, a cook.
Yes.
Gourmet cook, sounds like.
Yes.
So many layers. That's awesome. Okay, so let's kind of change the setting here. Let's talk about home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a passion for you, for you to be able to talk to your clients, educate us realtors about the home ownership and how important that is. Let's talk about what your passion is for home ownership.
I love it. I love it. So my passion for home ownership is just really to allow people to feel their worth and know their value. A lot of us are taught that our worth and our value comes from what other people think about, especially when we're growing up. We're told as kids, don't worry about it. But then on the flip side, we're said, what such and such said, what such and such is doing. So home ownership gives people a new sense of self-worth, especially if they've maybe been beat up by life, or maybe they didn't start off on the good foot, their parents didn't give them their down payment, they weren't taught to save, they weren't taught anything about their credit. So home ownership just obviously provides a roof, but it provides so many other things like self-esteem, self-worth, happiness. So that's definitely why I'm so passionate about it, as well as, creating that generational wealth. Yeah. But, a person's, wherewithal to know that where they live, they actually own it, and it's something that they can leave to their kids. It's so gratifying, Right. It's one of those accomplishments.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Okay, so Kiss Wealth Now, what is that all about?
So Kiss Wealth Now was born out of needing people to know that it wasn't that hard to own a home. And so, there's several things that are just very innocent that we don't realize that we need. For example, when we come into this world, the first thing we do is we take a breath. And the next thing that's happening is our mother's giving us that kiss. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just natural. We're getting that love. So that's kind of where the kiss came about. The kiss is very simple. It doesn't have to be all, intense, but buying a home is very simple. It doesn't have to be hard, especially with the right people on your team.
Right.
So that's how Kiss Wealth now came about, because it's not something that you have to wait to do. Something that is attainable now. It's easy. And Kiss Wealth now really was made to where people could remember it. Charlamaine's kind of hard. Like, how you say that? But Kiss Wealth now is something that people like, if they immediately grasped onto it, and it's something that's top of mind.
Yeah, I love it. And it is something that's top of mind when you do your videos. And anytime I even think of Kiss, I think of you. I mean, I really do. So, but I wondered I like how you simplified it. It's as simple as a kiss. Now, I know we use that acronym, keep it simple, stupid simple, or whatever it is. Was that a part of it? Did that come into it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So, how long have you been using that as a brand, Kiss Wealth now?
So, I want to say it's probably been strong for at least 3 years now.
Okay. And
the hashtag of Kiss Wealth now is probably over 100,000 hits. People actually going out and following the hashtag, which I love.
Yes.
So it's definitely biblically, you think about planting that seed, and then you don't know how much fruit it can bear. Right. So I planted that Kiss Wealth Now seed. It's definitely grown exponentially in ways that I could never imagine, and it's shot out further than I could ever hope that it would. And I'm glad that it is, because it's organic. It's me, grassroots, pushing my initiative, and that is health is wealth. But there's so many things that we have to do to make sure that we feel good, and homeownership is one of them.
Right. So I look at you as like a brand guru because of your content, the things that you put out. How did you come about that? Did you get help, or was that just something you kind of picked up on your own as far as branding?
Good question. So this is something I really came about on my own. I definitely tried to, over the years, set myself apart. There's many people in the industry, but there's only one Charmaine.
That's right.
So I really thought it was important for me to share what made my platform important, and what would help and that my platform is actually where you can plug in and play into it. So I just that 4 to 6 time, I'm making my notes. I'm saying, what about this? What about this? And some things have not worked. Like I did Kiss Wealth Now, and kind of right behind it, I said, let me do Lovely Mortgages. And Lovely Mortgages was a flop. It didn't do so good.
Okay.
Probably because it was a little bit too cliche.
Okay.
Not that it was bad. And it's still out there. If you were to Google Lovely Mortgages, all this information would pop up, but it just wasn't strong enough.
Okay. So one of the things that I know about you personally is that you are super, super creative. If I come to you and say, hey, Charmaine, I'm thinking about this, you are so quick with it. Right. And, oh yeah, we could do this, this, and this. And it's like, where did that come from?
I think that's just a gift that God has bestowed on me. I think, everybody's walking through the line. I love those videos where they say, you got a dash of this and a dash of that and a dash of this. And so I think as I was going through, everybody else was getting their dashes. I was stuck in the creativity line. And then, of course, being very spontaneous line, and then being in a tomboy line as well. So I love putting things together. I love, and that's how I got very successful at doing loans, because like, okay, well, I can do this and I can do this. And if I put it together, it does this, and this is awesome. And people are like, how'd you think of that? Yes. And so I read, And as long as it can be done, then I'm making it happen. So that's kind of where that creativity comes, even with my loans.
Yes. Yes, yes. That's one thing that I was going to bring up too is your creativity with loans. I know you've had to help me a couple of times.
Mm.
One, what were we, like a few days from closing, and it was Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen cooking, talking to the client,
Yes.
telling her what she needed.
That was amazing how you were able to pull that off. Um, that particular client came with their own lender. So
Mm.
normally, when they're going through the process, we can kind of guide them and gear them toward, our strategic partners, the people that we work with, who
Right.
we trust and who we have experience with. But that lender let her down tremendously.
Yes.
And you jumped in and saved the day. I mean, we had to push out closing a little bit,
Mhm.
but the magic that you were able to work while cooking during Thanksgiving, entertaining your family and friends, and still was able to make it all come together. I was just like, I don't know how she did. I don't even know what she did. I didn't even ask her. It
Right.
just happened, and now you're at closing. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
No.
No.
Seriously. I mean, you just did an amazing job and you were so calm. I
Mm.
think my client was completely freaking out because they were relocating here from another city, had their children. It was just a big deal. So, one of the things that they came back and told me that, oh my gosh, she was just so calm, like this is not a big deal.
Right.
And I think that's what people need to feel when they're going through the process,
Yeah.
especially if you don't know. And
Mm.
right now, I don't think anybody knows because the market is always changing.
Yeah, the market is definitely evolving and changing, and that's a whole nother, that could be a whole nother show. But yes,
Right.
I do try to remain calm. I said try, right? No, but I really do. My spirit is that, I don't like to jump up and down, and you'll never, if you hear me in a room over somebody else, it's because I'm laughing, and it's just who I am. I believe that we're all God's children, and as long as we put forth the good foot and we do what we're supposed to do, walk in his steps the best way we can, then we're rewarded for our efforts.
Yes.
And so I have to believe that it'll be okay, because our jobs can be stressful, and it is stressful sometimes. But I have to say, okay, it's going to work out. It's going to work out the way it's supposed to,
Right.
and be
Right.
okay with that.
I love it. I love it. I love that positive attitude. I love that can-do attitude.
Mhm.
I mean, there's nothing that you've been presented with that's a big deal to you.
Correct. And I mean, I tell everybody, I just told my family the other day, we have a group text and that I started, and I just try to put things out there just to keep us connected, because things are so hectic, and that's my way of making sure that everybody, I love them. But I told them that, life has so many things that it throws at us, but if we remember that, we'll be catapulted further than we can ever think about. And sometimes we'll be at a standstill. Sometimes we go backwards, but as long as we know that we're doing the best that we can, and if they can come to me with anything that they need, I'm there for them. But I'm always going to give them my "you can do it" answer.
Right.
Because I'm going to greet you with a smile and my "you can do it" answer. Could I do that for myself? I'll look in the mirror and be like, "Ooh, child," like, "You can do it."
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I give my family the same thing. So if they don't want to hear my positiveness, they're like, "I'm gonna talk to somebody else." You can't get no pity party from me.
And that's a good thing, because I think sometimes when people are negative, they see you as a positive person as being offensive.
Yeah, that is very true.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, why are you so happy? I've had that said to me so many times. Why are you so happy? Why? How are
I'm
you
grinning.
happy? I
Yes.
woke up.
Yes.
I'm happy.
Right. Right. And I mean, it takes so much energy to be negative, and being positive. It's just so, it for me, it just gives me a burst of energy. When
Exactly.
after we take this next break, I do want to talk a little bit about the market.
Okay.
And we don't have to spend a whole lot of time, because like you said, that's a whole nother show.
I give you the clip notes.
Okay, good, good. Give us some clip notes. We're going to break. one more time so that we can honor our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the market.
Okay, great.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, we do all the work, you get all the credit. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
All right, and we are back. So, Ms. Charmaine, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what is going on in this market. What are these rates looking like? What's going on?
So everyone is definitely having to get used to the new rates, right? The rates have gone up 2 points, an average of 2.73% to be exact, over the last 4 months now. They've just been creeping up. And there's just a lot of things going on. You know, we've all experienced and seen inflation. And I tell everyone, mortgages are not exempt. That's why the rates, everything's just more expensive.
Right.
And there's, you know, I'm not, what do you call it, an economist by any means, you know, but basically what makes interest rates go up are, first and foremost, and I'm not saying it in the correct order, but jobs. When jobs are plentiful, interest rates will go up because that means that people need to get to work, I guess, so they could pay for the more expensive things, right? But more jobs is the sign of a stronger economy. Also, food, farming, how well the cost of goods, again, those are going up. So therefore, because there's jobs are plentiful, and now the food, that's a whole nother topic. But those two things are basically pushing up rates because for all intents and purposes, they're plentiful and they're trying to get people back in the work first. But the feds actually said that they were going to not be buying MBSs as much, or they're going to be, you know, pulling back some, and that stands for mortgage-backed securities. When the feds are actually buying those, they're actually artificially keeping the rates down. And with the pandemic, they did that for a long time to help bring up that consumer trust, right? You know, all right, the feds got my back. I'm gonna go get this house with a 2.25, you know. But on the flip side, the home prices actually increased so much. And people have been saying we cannot afford homes because the rates are low, but they've gone up so much. So by the Fed kind of pulling back and raising their hand off of, you know, artificially keeping those rates low, then it's going to kind of cool that inflationary period down some. So homes are not going to increase so fast and out of everyone's reach. So it's a you know, a natural thing. You know, I guess you want to call the market the cookie jar. So they're kind of pulling the hand out of the cookie jar a little bit. But it's definitely not a sign of the market not being strong. The market is definitely still strong, and people are still moving to Texas in droves.
Yes.
People. So, and I tease and say that Texas is its own country. So we're very strong and solid in our market, but you know, we have to deal with whatever the rates are as a whole. And so my opinion is rates will probably tinker up just a little bit more probably before summer. Will we have 2 rate increases by the end of the year? I pray to God not, but I'm thinking we'll have one more. So anybody who's thinking about it, they definitely need to get in the game. The market is strong, and I would say that we're probably going to see, especially in our area, we have so many Fortune 500 companies moving in here, actually building infrastructures, economic development, where our market's probably going to be strong like this, I would say, for the next 2 to 5 years. And maybe be 50% correct or 30% correct, who knows? But or if I'm 100% correct, that's awesome, right?
Right. Well, I mean, there's just so much going on. Like you said, the increase in population with people moving from, seems like everywhere into Texas. I know that that's helping to drive those prices up.
Mhm.
What do you have to say about affordability?
Mhm.
And we have homeowners that are buyers that want to get into the market, but
Right.
they simply just cannot afford it. What
Right.
would be your advice? I know it's like get in the market now
Right.
because the rates are going up, but what's your advice for that?
That's a good question. My advice is that don't buy your car before your house. I actually was looking at an app this morning and they had $2,732 in car payments. And I bet you they're real nice. I bet you they're real nice. And, but it's like, wow,
That's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot. And if you are making an average income, which for that family, they're probably right at about 80,000, which is really good,
Mhm.
But when you have $2,750 in the car payment, that makes it really hard to where you can't. You could afford that home, but you can't afford it because of the decisions that you made financially.
Right.
So, I would say that, at the end of the day, the market definitely reacts to the dollars that we're making,
Mhm.
and people are making more money. And
Mhm.
so, but unfortunately, when a person makes more money, the first thought is, let me go buy this car versus let me go buy this house. So it's really retraining
Mhm.
the millennials and even some of the Generation X's, right? To say, okay, when I get a raise, it's a raise that I need to make sure that I can use to the best of my ability.
Right.
So affordability is definitely defined by debt, and so I always tease and say I'm mortgages, marriages, and more. And I give that financial analysis to really try to help people out because if they could, maybe eliminate something like a car payment so that they could buy a house, it would make sense.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You talking about that, it made me remember when I lived in California, I had stopped at a 7-Eleven,
Mhm.
and I don't know why I thought of this, but I stopped at the 7-Eleven and I was sitting in my car before I got out.
Uh-huh.
And so a couple of people walked in and out of 7-Eleven. And this one young lady pulled up beside me and she had a beautiful car. I can't even remember
Uh-huh.
what kind of car it was, but it was white. It was just beautiful.
Right.
So she got out and I was, checking out her car, went into the store to get what I was getting.
Mhm.
And I ended up getting in line behind her.
Uh-huh.
And she only had a few things. It was like maybe a smoothie and a beef jerky. It was like two items.
Right.
When she got to the register and her card was declined
Mhm.
at the register, and then, she was running back to her car, and
Uh-huh.
all I could think about was, man, I wonder is she like living out of that car? It was
Right.
a beautiful car.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
it
Yeah.
really caught my eye, and I'm not into cars, so it had to
Be
really
really
catch
nice.
my eye.
Yeah.
But then just looking at that whole transaction happen, that was my thought. Like, I bet you she's living out of that car.
That's right. That's right. And I teach and say the DFW is full of millionaire lifestyles based off of unfortunately $50,000. You can have so much finance, and that's a whole nother discussion. So it's just really being mindful and just being responsible and being accountable. And things happen. Things
Right,
happening in life definitely builds character. And if
right.
you're in over your head, it builds a lot of character. Because sometimes I get applications for people working 2 and even 3 jobs. I'm like, wow. And they're like, yeah, I'm
Wow.
trying to dig myself out of my rep.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
So back,
yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So that would be, I guess, what you would advise someone is to look at your debt, be mindful of
Mhm.
what you're paying for, and really just, do you really need that? And
Correct.
I think that's where we struggle,
Mm,
with, is this a need or is this a want?
that's
And
right.
most of the time it's a want.
Exactly. And if you want it all and you get it all, be prepared, especially if you're trying to buy a house, to go back to the village and say, hey, it takes a village. I'm gonna need you to co-sign.
Yes.
I
Yes.
need a co-bar. we got to combine these efforts so we can get this house that we would like to live in. And you know what? That's another part of I'm seeing a lot of families, moms and their children buying a home together.
Right.
So, you know what, we did it, and they'll branch off later, so.
And I think that's really important. I've talked to several mortgage lenders and people in the industry, and I think one thing that we have to be able to communicate is get something now. It doesn't have to be your dream house. And I think sometimes for first time home buyers, they want the mini mansion.
Right.
And it's like, no, just get what you can afford and be okay with that, fix it up, and then move on to the next thing. I think that's very hard and difficult because we just don't live in a society that welcomes that kind of thinking.
Exactly. I always say, my rags to riches story, but my first house was a box. Like literally, you could walk around exactly a square. I had no just a standard ceilings. I think it was 7 to 8 foot steep ceilings. It was a box, had no character. It was my box. And I did some things to, give it some character. But when I sold that house, I took that money to buy something that actually had raised ceilings and different elevations, and sold that house and bought another house. So the first house really could have been a rent house. Okay. I could have been renting a house. I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and own this box so that way I can get something from it. Because owning a home definitely is your silent savings. And if it's not what you really want, it's okay, because when you move out, you'll get something back. And of course, when you move out of this is not what I want, but I'm gonna deal with it, you're renting that, you get nothing back. You may not even get your deposit back. I talked to Charmaine yesterday. He's been renting the same house for 15 years.
Wow.
He didn't call me to want to buy a house. His landlord called me because his landlord says, I want him to own a home. I'm like, this is so awesome.
That's awesome.
So good people in the world, but 15 years is a long time.
Well, he pretty much paid that mortgage. Wow.
Yes.
So, okay, so we're talking about a lot here.
Yes.
So you mentioned millennials. What are you seeing from our millennials these days?
Well, a lot of our millennials are they're not scared to take chances and start a business. That's probably because of their youth. They're like, hey, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to do this. So I see a lot of the millennials having multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
But the biggest message I can give to the millennials is that if you don't pay taxes on it, you can't use it to buy a house. So you got to report it on your taxes. Now, there are other ways, though, to buy a house versus just a traditional method, which traditional method is providing your tax returns. You can do a bank statement program where you just provide your bank statements for 12 months. But if you do a non-traditional mortgage, then you can't really take advantage of maybe some of those first-time homebuyer perks that they like. Oh, if I buy a house, I gotta, which is I need down payment assistance. I need a mortgage credit certificate. I need all these things. That goes along with that traditional mortgage. But if you're doing a non-traditional mortgage, we're not able to verify things as we normally would. Then you kind of, I don't want to say lose those perks, but you just have to use your own money.
Right. Yes. Right. And a lot of them will want to do that.
Yeah. So it's just a good split, but lots of businesses.
Yes. So what about our boomers? I know they're aging out. What are you seeing in that market?
So in the boomers, I do reverse mortgages, and with a reverse mortgage, you have to be over 62 years of age. And that product, you can do a refinance, or you can even purchase a home. And it's a forward mortgage. A lot of times people, there's a bad word. They say, oh, you don't own your home. You still own your home. It's still a forward mortgage. So with the baby boomers, the ones who bought their houses and been paying on them for 20 plus years, they're actually doing reverse mortgages and taking that equity out and just really making those golden years as they would like them to be. Yeah. And then some of them are with doing those reverse mortgages are actually starting businesses as well. So
That's
right now we're in the season of entrepreneurship,
man.
everybody has a business, which I love it, so that's definitely what we're seeing with the baby boomers, or they're buying maybe that second home.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I enjoy, with my agents, listening to their stories, with my own experiences, is just how many entrepreneurs there are and how they are not afraid to take risks. And I love it
Yes,
because
correct.
I grew up in an era where it's like you work at this job,
Mhm.
from all your life pretty much, and
Right,
hope that they keep you, until retirement age.
exactly.
Fingers crossed, and you just don't leave a good job.
That's
You
right.
know, okay, we're gonna take a small little break and then we'll wrap up here. Let's
Okay.
go ahead and honor our sponsors one more time, and we'll be right back.
Perfect.
You are watching Chit Chat with Char, hosted by Charmaine Byers and powered by The Difference, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve. Today's show is made possible by the following small business partners: Power on Utilities, Texas Best Utility Concierge Service, The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance, and by WeatherTech General Contracting, specializing in high-end remodeling, roof repair, and commercial build-outs for more than 10 years. And now back to the show.
All right. Okay. So we were talking about, the entrepreneurship, what's happening this time and where everybody has a business. My husband and I, we own a postal store, and it is amazing to me to see these young kids
Right,
coming in, shipping things. And I'm so nosy. I want to know. It's like, what are you shipping? What are you doing?
right,
Um,
right.
these high schoolers who are thrifting and selling their products online for
Right.
triple, double,
Exactly.
what they paid for.
That's right.
And it's just mind blowing to see that people are really taking risk. And
It's
it's fun. It's exciting to see it.
That's true. That's so true. I mean, there's um, with life, it's a blessing to be able to do what you would like to do versus doing what you have to do.
Right.
And there's things that we all have to do, but if we get to do what we actually want to do and still make money at it, it's a
Right.
blessing. And to see the young people doing this, because longevity definitely comes with having less stress.
That's right.
We live longer if we're less stressed. So
Right.
we're doing what
Right.
we love, we are less stressed. And so I think that's why with me, I'm able to do a lot of things. I really honestly say with ease because I'm not stressed, I'm ready for it. I'm looking forward to it. The only thing that I dread doing is laundry. No, that causes me stress.
That's it. I guess it's the folding part that, having to go through that whole process.
Right.
So, okay, we're at the last quarter of the game.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what moves you, what inspires you
Mhm.
to do what you do.
So definitely my biggest why is, my family and really showing them what you can do if you're consistent,
Yes.
and consistency does pay off. You can't give up on yourself. Um, so what inspires me is seeing other people truly share what they've gone through. So I got a chance this weekend to hear an author speak, and his book is Get Off the X. And he's a military veteran, but he just went through so many things in his life, and a lot of decisions he made. He said that he separated Christianity from his decisions, and it wasn't his life wasn't whole until when he really brought Christianity back in his life, and
Yeah.
everything really made sense. So what inspires me is my faith and believing that I'm God's child, and through Him, I'm able to do it and accomplish the things I'm able to accomplish,
Right.
that just and then be able to make other people smile and give the gifts that He would have me give out to other people.
Right.
So those are things that is. So if I get to see other people doing that, and then I'm like, okay, this is good, because it takes so much to, like we said earlier, to be angry, to be rude. I mean, just to just not be in a good place, but just to
Right.
be happy, chin up, and know that it doesn't take much to smile. It's less effort. It doesn't take much to help someone out. It doesn't help much to pay it forward. And by doing
Right.
those things, they're reciprocating. Of course, we don't do to get back, but it's just so nice that when you do, you get to see what it does for others.
Right. That made me think of what I heard in my devotional this morning.
Mhm.
Charles Stanley. I listened to Charles Stanley,
Okay.
and he in the devotional for this morning is talking about making decisions God's way.
Right.
And one of the things that he mentioned in that devotional was that we should always consider HALT, the acronym HALT, when we're making decision.
Mhm.
We should not make a decision if we're hungry, if we're angry, if
That's
we're lonely, or if we're tired.
right.
So that, you saying that, that's what that made me think about. Is so often, we live in a world where things are moving so fast. Um,
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to hold on. You don't know what's going on, and we make decisions suddenly sometimes.
Correct.
And so you saying that just made me kind of think about that. What advice or inspiration
Mhm.
would you like to share with our listeners and with our viewers? And it could be whatever is on your heart.
Well, what's on my heart this morning is that we like to multitask, but if we really truly do the one thing at a time, we're able to accomplish so much more. So you got to be focused to achieve your goal and make sure one thing at a time. And if you just stay on that, then you can accomplish so much. But when we spread ourselves out to try to do 10 things at once, it just doesn't work. You're spinning in circles.
Right.
So that's my, for those who are watching, just one thing at a time. You definitely can get there. And the other thing that I live by is that the straightest way is the quickest way and it's the fastest way. So when you cut corners to try to get there, you get right back to where
Mm,
you should have started in the first place.
right.
Um, so with the millennials, they're like, oh, I can do it and I can get this. The come up ain't like that. You really have got to apply yourself and be consistent. And again, one thing at a time and stay on that straight road because you will get to the prize.
Right. What books are you reading? I know you said that in your meditation time in the morning, you
Uh-huh.
read. What books are you reading?
So the new book that I just got this weekend is Get Off the X. And
Uh-huh.
so I got that. So I'm going to start that. And then I got Emmett Smith's a new book that he just got out. So those are the two that I'm going to be adding to it. My other stuff that I read, y'all be like, what is this? I read the 4001, the FHA manual.
Yeah.
I read that every day. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines.
No, that's how we have you. We don't want to read that. That's sleeping material.
Exactly.
So tell us about what events, what things you have coming up.
So awesome. So we are actually doing mortgages and Mardi Gras in Richardson.
Okay.
Yeah, March 2nd. I put it on my page and we're promoting that. We have Don Diego doing our Zydeco music.
Wow.
Yes, we're gonna have food, prizes, just a good old Mardi Gras here, here in Texas, for those of us who can't make it down to New Orleans.
Right. Okay. So that's March 2nd. What time?
We're doing it from 11 to 2.
Okay. 11 to 2, March 2nd at your Richardson location.
Yes. So I hope everybody can come out and I'll be posting it like crazy. The Eventbrite, please, click the link in RSVP because we want to definitely make sure that we have enough good food, crawfish and crack, all the good stuff.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Very, very good. And then the last thing that I really want to dig deep into
Uh-huh.
is if you could go back and tell your 16-year-old self something, what would that be?
My 16-year-old, that's a good question. So I would tell my 16-year-old self is to not get discouraged. So many times things you're like, oh man, no, if only, but realizing that the things that you go through build character.
Right.
So my 16-year-old self didn't understand everything I was going through. Looking back, obviously I can say, okay, it made me who I am today. So
Right.
knowing that those things are for your good, even though we didn't plan it, but there's a reason why it happened.
Right. To build that character. And that's so important. I think, I just think as a parent, we don't want our kids to go through anything. So we
Right.
do everything we can to, prevent
Mhm.
all of that. But like you said, it's for your character. It's
Mhm.
for your good. So that you have that experience.
Exactly, exactly. And as it says, not for our own understanding that things happen in the Bible, so we don't understand a lot, especially when we're 16. There's no way.
No.
But as we get into our adult years, I even say when I grow up, because I'm still learning. For me, a good day is if I do learn something.
Right.
I'm a nerd.
No, we always have to be in the constant mode of learning, because I think if we turn that off to where we don't want to learn anymore, we miss out on so many awesome opportunities,
Right. And
in meeting people,
yeah,
experiencing new things.
exactly. I was going to say it's a good thing to say, I don't understand that. Can you explain it? Because and for some that takes courage, to say, I do not understand.
That's
And I
right.
first say, explain it, elaborate.
Please help
Please.
me.
Exactly, because I want to know. So
Right, right. Well, that's very good. We are going to wrap up. This has been amazing, Charlemagne. I am so proud of all of your endeavors. Everything that you touch is gold.
that's my goal.
And like I said, you have just done amazing things in every endeavor. Your marketing is on point, branding is on point, mortgages top notch. You just do an awesome job at whatever you do. And I'm glad that I know you. I'm glad that you're one of my partners that I trust. And you just, like I said, there's so many layers to you, and you're just an awesome person and
Thank you.
woman of God. And like I said, I just commend you for everything that you are doing, and you are an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this time with you. I love you to death. So we'll continue on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. So we're wrapping up. This has been Chit Chat with Char, where our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate those meaningful relationships with people like Charlemagne, who is making a difference in our communities. Thank you so much for joining us today. Catch us next Wednesday. Talk to you soon.
Bye, you guys.